is happening, everybody? We've got Alex breeding fish. Hope you're not breeding with the fish. We got Lauren Ashley. We got Cody-san. What is happening, y'all? Alright, I gotta close one of my VLCs here because it's going insane. There we go. Alrighty. I just had me some double stuffed Oreos. And it looks like Firefox is trying to use a crap ton of memory. Alright, well there we go. I might be. No breeding with fish unless they're mermaids, and the top half can't be woman. It's got to be fish. Bottom half can be female. Oh. Whatever. I'm drinking me some skim milk because last night when I asked my roommate to go to the store, he got me skim milk, but it's alright. It's 2%. I don't know if you call it skim. It ain't full. I mean, even full milk's not full. But I'm not going to go off on a tangent. They could all stream if they want to. How many fish tubers have memberships? I don't know. So an update to you guys, and I'll be updating you through the night a couple things. I got members. I got memberships, which is very awesome to me. I don't know if it's awesome to y'all, but I think it's kind of sweet. I do kind of want to promote it a little bit, so I'll probably say it a few times tonight. But with that, I made some concessions. Understanding that you can't have your cake and eat it too. So I have 4 levels. This many. Yeah, that many. I don't like looking at this part of my hand account. I like looking at the... It's weird, isn't it? I have 4 levels. First being $1.99. And you get access to a members only live chat in the community tab and in Discord. You also get custom emojis. The emojis also, the longer you are a member, they change. I like to think that they evolve. So that's the creeper. If you want to be a creeper, it's $1.99. If you want to be a cryptid, that's $9.99. I don't expect many people to do any of the next ones. I'm scratching my leg. But essentially, not only do you get what the creeper gets, you also get members only live stream, and you'll get live tech support. Because a lot of people are asking me for tech support. I can't do it all. So what I'll probably end up doing is bringing you on a stream if that's something you want, and sharing cameras, and we'll be fixing your technology. I can show you how to solder, how to fix computers, different things like that. The next one is $24.99. I don't think anybody's going to do this, but essentially you'll get my phone number and you can text me. I won't answer crazy hours, but I generally am good at replying. And then there's the insane level, which is $100, which nobody will do. That essentially, after YouTube says it's done the $100, because someone could just do it and then get out of it. But essentially, I will send you merch. Every few months, equal to the whatever you want in the store. Essentially, I'll probably end up setting a limit on that somehow, but That's what I'm going with now. In concession to my members, I've removed mid-roll ads. I've removed unskippable ads. So you only get the ads like that are here and the ads that are over here. You can't see my finger over here. So I'm not taking ads off completely, but that's what I'm gonna do. Because it looks like I did lose a couple of members. Not members, viewers. Subscribers. And I got downvoted on my members video. YouTube tells you to make a members video to get members. I did. So anyways, with that being said, we can start doing spoopy stories. I enjoyed the spoopy stories last night. That was pretty good. Ooh, I like this one. And they're back to doing the time limits. This is kind of a long one. It's a 12-minute. So, maybe, yeah, we'll start off with this one. It's fine. People are going to come in and be like, oh, I missed most of the story. I'm like, sorry, you should have been here when I just added everybody. So the Patreon thing, I'm going to do something very similar. At certain levels, people are going to get those same perks. I don't know if you guys think those are any good, but that's what I'm going with. And it looks like I lost 2 people already. I got 3 people, that's fine. So who wants a spoopy story? Nobody's talking. I hope they're not all dead. We'll see. I have plenty of minutes, LOL. Well, now it says I'm down to 1 viewer. YouTube's probably playing funny games with me. Nope. Well, your video's stuck. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. So I did take off the ads, so you shouldn't be seeing those. Oh, wait. No, my video's not stuck. That was when I was looking at my phone. Okay. I was like, wait, mine's stuck too. No, it's not. You have a delay? Yeah. You're here, but didn't get any notifications. You're a scrolling circle. Try refreshing. So I'll go through it again. I got YouTube allows me to have members now. I have 4 levels: $1.99, $99, $1.99, $9.99, $24.99, and $100. I don't expect many people to do it. Maybe the first one. But in concession to having members, I removed skippable ads, or unskippable ads, and mid-roll ads. Chappy? So, I thought it was unfair for people to go through my stream, and I'm in a story, and then an ad pops up, and you're like, ah! Yeah, that's kind of messed up. So I took that out. I think I could probably put in ads, but I don't know if I'll do that yet. I just want to work on maybe getting members and getting more subscribers. It's all about the subscriber numbers. Miscellaneous Magnets, how are you doing today, sir? You should put a with in your name, Alex. That would be really funny. But anyways, so let's do a story. Before we do a story, we gotta moisten our lips. I always do it with the Burt's Bees, because none of that chapstick stuff for our lips. It's just the good stuff from the buzzes. Just. Hey, Mama, how you doing? There's the buzzes. Buzz. Yeah, I would totally dig everybody to be a member of my channel. That would be awesome. It felt like it was going on bumpy. Maybe there's a lot of dead skin on my lips. But yeah, so my mama's in the house. You guys be nice to my mama, or I'll kick your butts. Oh, Mama, I'm wonderful. I am oh so wonderful. My nose is still a little bit sore from this thing. It's a little bit oversized. But we're going to get right into the story. Mama, I hope work's going well for you. Oh, look how bright that is. That's better. Let's get right into the story, shall we? Hang on. Make you small. Drop you there. There we go. There we go. All right, well. Let's do this. Okay, I'm getting my beverages. I will wait for Jay's bedroom, because Jay's good people. I hope you're all well. Here's the link to the story. This one's called If a Child with Black Eyes Comes to Your Door, Do Not Let Them In. I don't know if any of you are familiar with black-eyed children, but they literally have black eyeballs. And they are the protagonist of the story. I won't stay long, but I will check back from time to Timmy. Mom, you know what my name is. It's Chappy. I know. Thank you, Mama. My mama, everybody. She made me. I mean, I gotta poop. I'll bring you with me. Thank you for that. All right, Jay is ready. So, let's start the story. It started with 3 light knocks on the door. We seldom had visitors to our small apartment, especially not at this hour. Are we expecting someone? My wife asked. No, I said as I got up from our living room couch and walked a few feet to our front door, looked through the peephole. I saw a child with sad eyes standing in the cold. I swung our door open to greet the little girl. Her hair was a light blonde, lighter than my wife's shade of dirty blonde anyways. What stuck with me most were her eyes. There was no color in them. It wasn't that they were dark brown either. They were dilated pupils with no surrounding iris, two gaping black holes pushing at the edges of the whites in her eyes. My wife rushed to the door. "Call the police," she said. "And you come in here now." She patted the little girl's back and beckoned her into her apartment. My wife bombarded her with questions. "Are you lost? Where are your parents? Do you have their phone number? Why are you alone?" The little girl didn't vocally respond to any of the questions. She either shook her head or nodded, as if it was a yes or no question. If not, she would stare at my wife dumbfoundedly. "Let me get you some hot chocolate." My wife scrambled to our little kitchen and boiled some water over the stove. She was orphaned at a young age, so I knew she was trying her best to comfort this little lost girl. I got on the phone with the 911 operator and explained the situation. Despite the late hour, they immediately sent help. They arrived, asked us a few questions, and quickly escorted the girl out. She turned around and gave an innocent wave goodbye to my wife. "Thank you," she said, holding her hot chocolate in one hand. As I closed the door, I could see tears swelling in my wife's eyes. There was conflict in those tears. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I feel so sorry for her," she said. "The foster system sucks." "Maybe they'll find her parents," I suggested. My wife just shook her head, and that night, I could feel our bed shake to her sobs. I turned over in the sheets and rubbed her back. She was on her side with her back towards me to hide the fact that she was crying, a habit I was familiar with. Things were better the next day as my wife and I cuddled on our living room couch. But the same 3 knocks from the night before came again. My wife rushed to the door and opened it to see the same little girl. She bent down and wrapped her arms around her, lifting her off the hard cement and into the soft carpet of our living room. The girl giggled as she was lifted through the air. I admit I panicked in the moment. A lost child being found at some stranger's house 2 nights in a row. I reached for my phone, but my wife whipped her face to me and said, "That can't wait till the morning." "Are you crazy?" The girl frowned at me with her smoldering black eyes of charcoal. My wife gave her classic death stare that I read as, "What did you just say to me?" So I threw my hands up and said, "All right, I'll call first thing tomorrow." I grabbed some blankets and a pillow from our closet and set up a makeshift bed on the couch. My wife made another cup of hot chocolate for the girl. Then she pulled up a children's story on her phone and started reading to the girl on the couch. She was delighted and fell asleep quickly. My wife and I tiptoed to our room and slipped into bed as quietly as possible. She scrunched up close to me, and we embraced tightly. Her head rested in the crevice of my neck. "Do you think the police lost the girl?" I asked her. She stayed still, speaking into my neck. She said they took her home last night, but she got lost again. Wait, she talked? She hasn't said a word to me. She told me when I was reading, she started her rhythm of heavy breathing. that I heard every night as she slept. Not minding the warmth of our combined body heat, I dozed off soon after. I awoke early that morning to find an empty space in my bed. I stumbled to the kitchen in my usual way, eyes still half asleep, and poured myself some water. My wife was lying on the ground in front of our couch. She slept on her side facing towards the girl as if she'd been watching her sleep. I stepped outside and made a phone call to the police. After I finished the call, I was surprised when I turned around and saw my wife standing in the open doorway. She held the little girl in her arms and sighed at me. "What?" I asked. She walked back into the house and I followed her in. I tried getting her attention, but both of them gave me the cold shoulder until the police showed up. They were frazzled this time, apologizing to us as they tried to beckon the little girl to leave with them again. This time, the girl went kicking and screaming. My wife held her hand over her mouth and cried as she watched the police drag her out of our apartment. I got home from work that night and received one of the most dreadful greetings I've ever received from my wife. "Oh, you're back," she said. She wasn't sad like the night before. She was pissed. I tried opening conversations with her to no avail. She glued her eyes to the floor or to her phone the entire evening. When bedtime came around, she shooed me into our bedroom while she curled up on the couch. Like the previous night, I woke early to an empty space where my wife normally slept. Only now my wife was standing as a shadowy silhouette at the foot of our bed. I couldn't quite see her face in the darkness, but I felt the intensity from her eyes pin my shoulders to the bed. "Honey?" I said in a weak and groggy morning voice. "You let them take her," she said. "What?" I sat up sharply. "She's a lost child. She doesn't belong with us." "You let them take her?" She lowered her hand from behind her back down to her side, and I saw the largest kitchen knife held tightly in her clenched fist. I jolted over in bed and flipped on the light switch. My wife reached to the light and dropped the knife. Her eyes squinted. She fluttered them as she does when she wakes up. "What happened?" she asked as she stood there. "Careful," I pointed to the knife on the ground. "Don't step on it." She picked up in the confusion, eyes now wide awake. "Why is this here?" "You were standing here, pointing a knife at me." She burst into tears and slammed her face into our bed. I crouched next to her and put my arms around her. "It's okay," I said, "but I think we need to see someone to figure this out." She nodded, still sobbing, her face first into the blanket. The next thing I did was call in sick to work. Nothing like this had ever happened to my wife, and I was determined to be there for her until we found a way to fix it. I made her some breakfast that morning, but she fell asleep on the couch before I could finish it. She was dead tired, and it made me wonder how long she stood at the foot of our bed waiting for me to wake up at the previous night. I put her breakfast on a plate and set it on the ground in front of the couch in case she woke up. I needed to shower. I took a quick shower, expecting her to be up and about when I was done. I was surprised and relieved to see she was still sleeping when I got out. I took the opportunity to do some research on therapists in the area. I called a few, and the soonest we could be seen by someone was 2 days. But one of my office mentioned that we could walk in. But one office mentioned we could walk in at any time if it was an emergency. Seeing my wife lie in peaceful sleep on the couch, I naively thought that it could wait. She woke up in the late afternoon. The breakfast plate I made for her long since gone cold, so I dumped it and started making a light dinner of chicken and rice. It was hard to go wrong with chicken and rice. I knew it was one of my wife's favorite dishes, at least out of dishes I could make. "Morning, honey," I said. "Want some food?" She ignored me completely. She robotically rose from the couch. She grabbed the car keys and was out of the door before I could say a word in protest. Awesome. Dang it. "The hell?" I said aloud. I turned the stove off and ran to my room to get some socks on. I threw shoes on right after and hobbled outside. I saw her back out of the parking spot and slam on the gas, propelling the car forward. Smoke rose from the tires as she sped out of our complex and towards the highway. I went back inside the apartment and tore my phone out of my pocket. I called her, and I heard her phone vibrating between the couch cushions. I growled to myself and went to pick it up. I ended the call from her phone, and her screen changed to low-quality colored phone of a little girl. It was that girl. The one that kept showing up at our door, except her eyes weren't black. They were green like my wife's. She stood alone, staring at me as if I was a stranger. It occurred to me that I never actually seen a photo of my wife as a child. She always said that her parents never cared enough to take any photos before they abandoned her. I put her phone down and tried to think of where she would have driven off to, but I lost my train of thought when I heard 3 faint knocks at my door. It was her, the little girl with black-colored eyes. What did she want? She already turned my wife against me. And all the time she spent in our apartment, she never showed a bit of interest in me. She only cared for my wife. My wife. God only knows where she went off to. She drove away just moments before the knock came at the door, leaving her phone, wallet, shoes, and everything else in the apartment. She couldn't have gone far with no money on her, right? I picked up her phone and looked again at the picture she left open on the screen. A picture of her as a child. I brought my eye to the peephole of the door and saw the black-eyed girl outside. Her gaze was fixed straight ahead, and I feared that she could see right through the thin veil of my door. I compared the picture of my wife to the girl outside, looking back and forth. It was her. She was my wife as a child, or looked exactly like her anyways. Same face, same bright blonde hair, same size. The only difference was eye color. The girl outside had pure black eyes. If they were giant pupils, only put in, check by the whites of her eyes. The photos showed my wife's evergreen eyes that I grew to know over the years of our relationship. I've put in many hours looking at those eyes while we were dating and after, but I couldn't hold eye contact with this little girl version of her for even 1 second. There was something maddening about it, as if the blackness of her eyes constantly held back the screams of a soul in pain. She knocked again with the same soft, rhythmic knocks. I stood still at the peephole, fearing that any motion from my end would reveal I was home. I watched her face intently, trying to look anywhere but her eyes. To my relief, she turned around and walked off the front porch. I kept walking until she walked out of the peephole's vision completely. I scrambled to the kitchen counter, where my phone, keys, and wallet were. I shoved my things into my pockets along with my wife's phone. I wasn't waiting around for the girl to knock on my door again. I started a call to my parents. I asked them for anything since I moved out at 18. I haven't asked them for anything since I moved out at the age of 18. To be honest, I don't think I'd talked to them since the day of my wedding. But desperate times, desperate measures, and all that. I would have met them at the gas station nearby, or even the park down the road, hell, anywhere that had living, breathing people around. I put my phone to my ear but heard no ringing. After a few seconds, I realized my phone didn't have service. I slammed my fist on the counter, angry at the whole situation of my wife walking out without saying a word. A darkness rose outside my apartment. I could tell because less light was shining through the cracks of my window blinds. I approached my window and opened the blinds to see big puffs of white clouds block the sun. In the shade created, I saw the little girl standing in the middle of the apartment complex, staring at me. The white clouds became darker and darker. The landscape outside quickly shifted from a cool light of late afternoon to pitch black midnight with no moonlight shining through. I swung open my front door and took off running, but blackness overtook me. I lost sight of the parking lot, the apartment complex, and eventually all of my surroundings. They all turned to a thick, dark fog that extended in all directions. I looked down and screamed as the floor turned black to nothingness. I thought I would fall, but my feet kept grounded. I closed my eyes and reopened them, only to realize I could see no difference in the level of darkness either way. I only knew my eyes were open from muscle memory and the fact that I could see my hands if held up to my face. I had run at least 20 yards from the front door, so I was shocked when I turned and saw it right behind me. The tall white door floated there in the black void. I tried to open it, but it was locked. I shivered in this lonely and cold wasteland of emptiness. Do you know where you are? The high-pitched voice of a little girl echoed through the black fog. She appeared behind me, so I backed into my apartment door out of fear. It felt hard to breathe in the thick mist of darkness, so I leaned more on my own weight against the door. I don't know, I said with a struggle. You're in my eye. Her giggle bounced around the fog and into my head, making it throb. You took my wife, didn't you? She's in my other eye. More giggles. Good thing I have two, one for each of you. I groaned aloud, turned and hit my forehead against the door. Why can't you just leave us alone? I can't, she took on a serious tone. I can't because, well, it's hard to explain. Let me show you. She disappeared for a moment, but the echo of her voice remained. My apartment's living room window popped into vision, just next to my front door, light emanating from it, making me cover my eyes until they could adjust to the brightness. I looked through the bright window and saw myself in the apartment. I was in a trance of rage, pacing around and destroying everything inside. I saw myself grab our TV and smash it to the ground. I ripped open the cupboards and flew every piece of kitchenware I could get my hands on into the apartment walls. I flipped the couch and kicked over the garbage can while pulling out my hair and cursing my wife for leaving. Do you know who that is? She asked. It's me. No, it's an empty shell, just like your wife yesterday. My wife. Please, let me see her one more time. Another window popped up, a stone's throw from my front door. This time, it was the driver's side window of our car. Light shined from the interior of our old sedan, and I could see my wife sitting in the driver's seat. As I got closer, I saw her holding air, as if it was a child. She wrapped it in her arms while rocking lightly back and forth and snuggling her head into nothing. That's me, the girl said. I'm sitting with her. I looked closer and saw the black-eyed girl appear in the arms of my wife. They were curled up together in silence. My wife's face was at peace. There were tears, but they were not of pain. Do you get it now? Yes. You are her. You're part of her. There was silence in the void of blackness. The car window faded to black, so I walked back to our apartment door and living room window, the only things I could see in the expanse. I looked in the window again and saw my body laying on the living room floor, staring up at the ceiling and breathing heavily. The girl appeared next to me. Let's make a deal, she said. I'll send you back if you promise to open the door when we knock. I don't have much choice here, do I? I sighed. I guess I'm becoming a dad sooner than I thought. I told you we can't leave you alone. Not until you've dealt with us. How am I supposed to do that? I don't know. You're the adult, not me. All right, it's a deal. Good, she said. Now just knock on the door. What? She motioned towards the door of my apartment. Knock. I lifted my arm to the tall door in front of me, feeling weaker and smaller. I turned my head and my wife grabbed up my unoccupied hand as she latched her other hand with the girl. I managed 3 little knocks on the door. I came to the living room to the sound of the 3 knocks. I was staring up at the ceiling, still feeling blood rushing from anger. I looked around and saw that I was lying in rubble. Crumbled drywall was spread across the carpet, which was also littered with shattered glass. The worst headache of my life overwhelmed me, but I knew I needed to get the door quickly. I got up and opened to the girl and my wife. Her eyes told me that she was sorry for leaving. Somehow, they also managed to forgive me for being an asshole at the same time. I curled my lips up in a slight smile. I even stomached looking at the girl in her black eyes for a few seconds, despite still feeling uneasy about it. But there was a third there with them. It was a little boy with big black eyes that pushed against the whites of his eyes. I recognized him instantly. He was the one that just knocked. He was me. I don't know if I like that one. It was all right. But I did want to say I have my first member. It is Mr. Stacy Morgan, which is super awesome. Where's Stacy? Yeah. Awesome. Stacy's my first creeper. So we have 10 people in here. Let's see who we have. We have Horn Dog. That's for sure. And I saw Lauren, but she was in here earlier. So was Alex and Yandiri and my mama. How do you become a member? There's a join button, but it's a monthly charge. It's like $1.99, $9.99, $24.99, and $100. Of the 4 channels I'm a member of, you, my man, have the coolest emoji. Well, thank you. I paid quite a bit of money for them. The story was a great way to get things started. Well, awesome. But yeah. So Stacy, your emoji will change from month to month. So keep an eye out for that. Jesus, how many? What sound does the donation ticker make? I don't know. I didn't know it made a sound. Creepers unite. Ooh. I know I'm wearing a gray shirt. I should probably be wearing a black one, but whatever. I just got off work. So that was a long one, but it was called If the Child with Black Eyes Comes to Your Door, Do Not Let Them In. You'll unblock Horn Dog when you're ready. Yeah, man, I remember your first live stream. I was freezing cold in the warehouse, staring at my YouTube wall LOL, watching you. Oh man, yeah. Stacy's old school, guys. He went away for a while, but he's back. There you go, Lauren, with the so with those, just to go over it, the $199 one, you get a members only chat in Discord and in the community tab. So Patreons don't even get the community tab one. $9.99, I believe you get tech support, which that sounds bad, but it's like tech support live on the stream, or not if you don't want it to be on the stream. And there was something else. Oh, also members only live streams, which I'll be doing once a month or twice a month. That's encrypted. There's the Ultimate Hellraiser, which is $24.99, which I don't expect anybody to do. But you'll be able to text me. I mean, yeah. And then the expensive one, the $100 a month, you get free merch. I'll send you merch, and you get, with everyone, you get the level below its added benefits. Yeah, why block Horn Dog? Go look all the way up. What did Horn Dog say? I don't know what he said. I don't know. Let me go use the restroom real quick. Let me also rinse out my glass here. If you guys will hold on, we've almost been going for an hour. That was a long one. Uno momento, por favor. Yeah, just 1 second. I don't know where any black shirts are. So I was gonna switch my shirt out, but I did not. Hey, Coffin Crew, how you doing? Am I streaming any games tonight? No, I am not. This is just chat and stories. Hello, Tenra. Welcome to the stream. I do want to give a quick thank you to my Patreons. Julia Reds on Walls, Chattanooga Ed, Candy Overhauls, Tenra, Sianta, and Dark Fruit. Y'all are awesome. And the dogs are barking again. Kennel. You instigator. She was instigating the dogs to bark. Oh. Found a black shirt, the one I wore last night. There we go. All right, how about we do another story? I need to set this thing to where it stops recording. It only records when I'm telling stories. That would make more sense. Doobly 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 doo. No slep. I spelled slep just now. I was like, oh, that's wrong. The story's called... I guess we're gonna read it. My best friend shoved a weird note under my door one morning. That's how the nightmare started. Actually, it's began, sorry. All right. I found a zit in my eyebrow earlier or something. It sucked. But all right. Here is the link. You know words are hard. Doobly doop. My best friend shoved a weird note under my door one morning. That's how the nightmare began. It was still early when I found the note. I was in my dressing gown walking through the lounge on my way to get some cereal when I saw it. A scruffy yellow post-it lying on the mat by the front door. Morning sunlight streamed through the window and framed it in a golden rectangle. Before I'd even read the message, I could tell by the messy handwriting that it was from Toby. Jamie, come to the old sawmill, as soon as you get this. It's urgent. Toby. I read the note twice, then stuffed it in my pocket, frowned. Toby's my best friend in our village, and we see each other almost every day, school and at the weekends. But he was never normally up this early, and he'd never leave me a note before. Normally, on the rare occasion he was up before me, I'd wake to the sound of him throwing stones at my bedroom window from the garden. I'd part my curtains, and there'd be a curly-haired teenager with a big grin on his face, squinting at me through the morning light. But this was new. It wasn't like Toby either. I paused for a moment, listening. The house was silent around me. It was a Saturday, which meant Mom and Dad were still upstairs asleep, lying in. Normally, I'd have been lying in too, but I'd woken sweating from a nightmare I could no longer remember. I hadn't been able to get back to sleep. So now here I was, my hair messy and my eyes still crusted, staring down at the note, feeling a worm of anxiety in my stomach that I couldn't place. I left the house 15 minutes later. Skipped breakfast in the end. I tried Toby's mobile a couple of times first, but when it kept going to voicemail, my impatience got the better of me. I chucked on some clothes and left through the front door, closing it quietly behind me. If Mom and Dad woke up, they wouldn't care if I was out so early, but they would want to know where I was going. Then I'd have to explain the note, and it'd be a whole thing. Much easier to just slip away unnoticed. Winter sunlight made me squint as I made my way down the drive. My footsteps crunched over gravel. I creaked the front gate open, wincing at the sound it made. And as it reached the main village road, I glanced instinctively to my right and the direction of Toby's house. I frowned. Toby's house was a little way down from mine, on the opposite side of the road. An old brick cottage like ours. Normally, when I look down there, I can see 2 cars parked outside. Toby's dad's Land Rover and his mom's Peugeot. But today, there were 3 vehicles. The third was a police car. Do you reckon that's about then? What do you reckon that's about then? The voice made me jump. I spun, and around I saw my next-door neighbor, Mr. Willows, leaning over his fence, watching me. Mr. Willows is a bit odd, but he's okay. He's this old guy who lives on his own and spends most of his time in the garden smoking. Always wears a suit. Today he had a black blazer with a pink tie, as though he was off to a wedding. His gray hair spilled over his forehead, which was wrinkled into a frown as he stared at me. As I stared back, he stretched out his hand and thumbed the end of his cigarette, sprinkling ash into the tarmac. I opened my mouth to say something, but Mr. Willows spoke again before I could. "You're up early, Jamie. You off to find your mate?" "Yeah, I'm gonna go meet him now." "You didn't see him earlier, did you?" Mr. Willows was taking another drag from his cigarette, but now he broke off coughing. He held it away from his face as he stared at it, his frown deepening to a scowl. Last time I buy this shit, they weren't out of the brand at the co-op. But I'd rather go without than smoke this crap. He flicked a cigarette. I watched it sail from his hand and land in the road. The glowing tip trailed smoke through the air. Nah, I haven't seen your friend in a while. You off to call on him now, are you? No, I'm gonna go meet him nearby. He left a note for me this morning. Mr. Willows had been half turned away from me, as if he was getting ready to go inside. But now he paused and looked back. The flicker of some emotion I couldn't place passed behind his eyes. Left you a note, did he? Yeah, I better go find out what he wants. I normally didn't mind talking to Mr. Willows, but this conversation was starting to drag. I began walking down the road to the left past Mr. Willows' fence, in the direction of the little footpath that would lead me to the old sawmill. But as I drew level with the place he was standing, I felt his eyes on me again. I turned towards him and forced a smile onto my face. I'll see you later, Mr. Willows. Have a good day. For a second, that same emotion I'd seen before, something almost like confusion, passed the old man's face. But a moment after, it was gone again. He nodded and tipped me a wave. Old bastard's probably losing it, I thought to myself as I continued down the road. I glanced back once when I was halfway to the gate that would lead me to the footpath. Mr. Willows still hadn't gone back inside. He was standing in the same place by the fence, fiddling with the lapel of his blazer, staring after me. The old sawmill. Why the hell did Toby want to meet here? As I hurried along the footpath, green light filtering through the tall hedgerows on either side of me, I racked my brain. Thing was, we'd already explored the sawmill to death. We'd done it a couple years back. The place had been great find at the first. A dilapidated old barn that looked like something from a horror film. A ruined building which sat in the middle of a wooded clearing, smack bang between two fields. It was spooky and remote, and we'd had a great time climbing the rafters and exploring every dark corner there was to explore. But that all had been several years ago. We were older now. We'd already done the sawmill to death. As I reached a little stream that bisected the footpath, I glanced up at the sky. Thick, black clouds were gathering overhead. I wasn't far from the sawmill now, and it looked like that might be a good thing. Rain was coming. Toby, Toby. My voice echoed in the silence of the clearing. I shivered. The rain clouds were directly overhead now, blocking out the sunlight, turning the clearing into a patchwork quilt of grays and dark greens. The sawmill reared up in front of me, all splintered rafters and chipped brick. An old red door was set to the side of the building. The paint pink faded, and flaking off in chunks. Nobody had used it in years, though, and that included me and Toby. We didn't need to. The entire front end of the building was missing, gaping open like a wound, exposed to the elements. From where I was standing, I could see inside. Dusty concrete, old wood, and a scattered of rusted, bramble, cocked, choked tools. No sign of Toby anywhere. Toby, where are you, mate? I took a few steps forward towards the open end of the building, shivering again. Wind rushed through the trees at the edge of the clearing, making the leaves whisper. I stared at the shadows inside the sawmill and felt that worm of anxiety in my stomach again. Those shadows looked too dense somehow. It was like peering into a cave. Was it possible Toby was hiding somewhere in there, crouched in the darkness, waiting to jump out at me? It wouldn't have been entirely out of character. But then again, what? Why are you acting like a scared little kid? As the thought was running through my head, I felt the first drop of rain on my skin. That did it. I shoved my nerves to one side and strode forwards, covered the remaining distance between myself and the sawmill in a few quick steps. When I'd reached the ruined opening of the building, I paused again, peering through the shadows. Toby, you in there? I took another step. Toby, this isn't funny, mate. If this is some kind of wind-up, you got to get me out of here for nothing. You got me out here for nothing. I'm going to be pissed. I took another step and felt my foot crunch broken glass. The sound made me wince. All around the clearing, the wind suddenly picked up. Tree branches crashed against each other. Leaves shook. The rain began to fall more steadily, the droplets hitting the clearing in a constant patter. I took another step forwards. The shadows were all around me now. The inside of the sawmill smelled like dust and mold. I fumbled in the pocket for my phone, intending to use the little torch function. Flashlight. But as I pulled it out, I caught the shape from a corner of my eye. I looked to my left and bit back a scream. Toby stood there in the shadows. He was over by the left-hand wall of the sawmill, standing with his back to the brick, facing me. I could see his features in the gloom, but I could just make out his thick mop of hair. Jesus fucking Christ, Toby. I could feel my heartbeat hammering in my chest. My skin, which had been cold a moment ago, suddenly felt too hot. You scared the shit out of me. Toby stood against the wall, unmoving. What the fuck are you doing out here? Is this a wind-up? Toby didn't say anything. Toby, what's up, mate? This isn't funny. Toby still didn't speak. Instead, he slowly lifted his arms, his left arm, held it out from his body, pointing. I followed his finger. There was something in the shadows near where Toby stood, lying coiled in the darkness, next to a pile of bricks. What the fuck? Toby didn't say anything, just kept pointing. Rain poured down harder outside of the sawmill. The wind howled. I had my phone out of my pocket now and thumbed on the little flashlight. The light spilled out and lit up the shadowy floor. A green tie. That wasn't what Toby was pointing at. It laid coiled next to the bricks in a little heap on the concrete floor. I stepped closer. Toby, what? I stopped talking when I got a better look at it. When I saw what was on it, I bent down and picked the tie up. It would have looked shiny and new if it wasn't for the rust-colored blotches darkening the green. The messy brown stains that covered it. Those marks weren't just on the tie either. I saw now. The floor below had been stained the same color. There were patches of the stuff all over the dusty concrete. They looked like... Toby, what is this? I moved the light away from the stains and flashed it at the spot Toby had been standing. My light struck a dusty brick. I felt fear and confusion surge through me in a wave. Toby was gone. Toby! The wind drowned out my cries. It roared around the sawmill, making the wooden beams creak. Rain hammered down outside. Rain and something else. A sound I can only just make out, half muffled as it was beneath the crash of the raindrops. The steady pounding of thumping of footsteps. Toby! I moved towards the entrance of the sawmill, still holding the stained tie in one hand. There was no sign of Toby anywhere. I looked out at the rain hammering through the clearing, the thick sheets. Wind buffeted the side of a half-obscured tree line. The sawmill creaked and groaned. I turned to my left, squinting my eyes as I scanned the clearing. Then I heard the footsteps again. They were over to my right, growing louder as they pounded closer and closer to the sawmill. I turned in their direction, my mouth open to yell for Toby, but the shout died in my throat as a figure emerged from the rain. Mr. Willows was still wearing the suit he had been in earlier, but now the thing looked wrecked. His pink tie was skewed, his soaked shirt sticking to his chest. His gray hair was sodden, plastered to his skin of his forehead in dark strands. His eyes were open, wide in his face. He had been running, one hand pressed to his chest, but as soon as he saw me, he slowed down. He came to stop just inside the shelter of the sawmill, a few feet away from me. Put his hands on his knees and pulled in deep breaths. Mr. Willows? Mr. Willows, what's happening? Are you okay? I stuffed my phone in my pocket and hurried over to him, putting my free hand on his shoulder. My mind was whirring with questions, but I couldn't think which to ask first. Fear swirled in my stomach, fueled by the only explanation I could think of for Mr. Willow's sudden arrival. Either something had happened to my parents, or something had happened to Toby's. Mr. Willows seen me heading in this direction and followed me. That had to be it. He had come to tell us. My mind conjured an image of the police car I'd seen outside Toby's house earlier, and I bit my lip. Mr. Willows, what's happening? Is everyone okay? After a few more seconds, Mr. Willows reached up, put his hand on my shoulder for support, stood up straight. His face was red, and his breathing was still heavy, but he sounded better than he had a moment ago. His wide eyes scanned the shadowy interior of the sawmill, finally resting on my face. It's just you here? Yeah, it is. I mean, no. Toby was here too, but I don't know where he's gone, and... What's that mean? Mr. Willow's voice cut through mine, sharp and sudden. What's that mean, he was here? His bony hand was still gripping my shoulder. Mr. Willows stared into my face, and then something else caught my eye. He glanced down, and I saw his expression change. Where the fuck did you get that? I followed his gaze and saw the green tie, still clutched in my free hand. I stared down at it stupidly. Outside the sawmill, the wind gusted. The building around us shook and creaked. And it was as I looked back up at Mr. Willows that he moved his free hand quickly and agile as a man half his age, and it fastened around my throat. Within seconds, both of his hands were on my neck, squeezing. I choked in, half breath, and stumbled backwards. My heel struck something on the concrete floor, and I went down, falling hard on my back. Mr. Willows came on top of me. I felt the pain lance through my back, felt the breath whoosh out of me like air from a balloon. Mr. Willows was inches. His face was inches from mine now, red and wrinkled, teeth gritted like a dog. His grip around my neck was impossibly strong, a rigid band of bone. I reached up my hand to grab his arms to try to break his hold on me, but I couldn't do it. My hands were suddenly too weak. My head felt thick and heavy, and my vision filled with blotches that were the color of red stains on concrete. When Mr. Willows spoke to me, he sounded like he was about to cry. I didn't mean it, Jamie, I swear. I didn't. I liked you boys, you know that. He tightened his grip. But I can't let you tell. My vision wavered. Everything was shades of brown and gray. I saw Mr. Willow's face, red and panting above mine. I saw the cobweb-strewn beams of the sawmill's roof. I saw the rain lashing down against the clearing outside, the blue-black curtains. And finally, before my eyes drifted shut, I saw Toby. I saw Toby looming over Mr. Willows, taller than I'd ever seen him before. I saw Toby, his face a shadowy blank beneath dark curls, reaching out a hand towards the man choking the air out of me. The last thing I heard before I lost consciousness was the sound of screaming. I've been in counseling for the past few weeks, ever since I got out of the hospital. I have bruising around my throat, which is still pretty sore, but the doctors say it'll heal soon. It's my mind that might take longer. My parents found me that Saturday morning when they woke up passed out in their driveway, covered in mud, soaked through and unconscious, half dead. Somehow, after coming around in the sawmill, I'd managed to half stumble, half crawl my way back home. With the injuries I had, nobody can believe I'd managed it on my own. What they didn't know is that I wasn't. I don't remember how much of the journey. I don't remember much of the journey back. It's all a blur of pain and numbness and shadows. But I do remember Toby. I remember him by my side the whole way, helping me along, encouraging me to get back up whenever I fell down in the mud. Sometimes I thought I heard his voice clearly, and other times it seemed to blend and fade with the wind. But it was always there. It didn't take much time for them to find his body. Toby had been buried in a shallow grave, somewhere along the trees that ran the edge of the clearing, within about 100 meters of the sawmill. Within about 100 meters of the spot where Mr. Willows tried to strangle me. The spot where the police found him after they came to our house, and I wrote the word sawmill on a notepad in a shaking hand. When his cause of death came back, they said that it was a heart attack that killed him. That the strain of running, then trying to choke me, must have caused something in his chest to rupture. I'm the only one that knows better. I've seen Toby once since I got out of the hospital. Just once. It was a Saturday morning, and it was early. I'd had trouble sleeping. I'd woke from whatever nightmare I'd been having in a sweat, my duvet twisted up around me. And before my eyes were even fully open, I heard it. It could have been a bird outside, or a distant neighbor working in their garden, or it could have been the sound of small stones striking at a window. I swung my legs out of bed and got up to check. I didn't see Toby at first. When I parted the curtains, the sunlight was so strong that it made me squint. It poured into the garden like liquid gold, bathing the grass in its yellow glow. Toby stood there in the center of that glow. When my eyes finally adjusted, I saw him. His form wavered in the morning sun, half lost in the light, the opposite of a shadow. But it was definitely Toby, smiling up at me, standing in the same spot he always used to stand whenever he came to call for me. There were so many things I could have said to him then, so many things I wanted to say, but in the end, I settled for a smile. It was all I had time for. As I stared down to the garden, the morning shifted, the sky altered, and Toby was gone as quickly as he had come. A curly-haired boy, my best friend, fading in a patch of sunlight. Reddit no sleep comments. Go to site. I didn't see where you left a note. Yeah. What's going on, guys? Did y'all like that one? That was a nice feel-good story. Well, sometimes. Yeah, so how's everybody doing? Nobody's crying, are they? You didn't like that one, huh? Here's one. This one's called You have a story you emailed to me? This one's called I hooked up with a hot girl, but she came... Nope. I hooked up with a hot girl, but she has some weird rules she wants to follow. But before that, let me check out this story. And the dogs are barking again. Oh, Quincy. I'm going to read this real quick. Toby Keith was riding his tractor, like usual, in the cool breeze. Wearing his Hatsuk Miku t-shirt and just vibin'. Vroom vroom, he yelled. But then something was in his way. It was a fish. Toby was surprised. Ah, he yelled as he jumped back. The fish looked at him and just said, "Subscribe to Chappy." I've got some other emails here from Yahoo. Yeah, Yahoo loves sending me emails. Here we go. Spam. Is this a true story? Are any of them true stories? I mean, the dogs are barking. How you doing, Helly? Welcome to the stream. Hey, Helly, you should become a member. You should become a insane member. I'm just kidding. Oh, did y'all hear that? That was wonderful. Waiting for the bark. Okay. This story is called I Hooked Up with a Hot Girl, but she has some weird rules she wants me to follow. Let me let this dog out. Go. Dang dogs. I saw your video about membership. It freaks me out when you do that, Chappy. What does? What are y'all talking about? Do insane members get to join you on the panel? They sure can. They get to do whatever they want. They're insane. Oh, cracking. Oh, just feels so good. My nose hurts. Ow. Let's try the other one. Damn, that hurt. Huh, weird. Doesn't hurt at all. Bug Chappy for monies. Sounds good to me. Me no talk, just to myself. All right, well. Sorry, I should have said hello to Creepy Chappy. How are you doing, Lady Griffin? Hopefully you're doing well. Dark, WTF. What's dark? Oh, cracking my neck? I don't know. This is the story. It's a healthy one, but not too healthy. This might be a little NSFW. But it doesn't have any tags. Let's see. I'm good. Chappy, my fiance's son, fell asleep on the couch. Talking to yourself can be fun. I do it constantly. I want a bologna sandwich. Burb. Hello, me. Hi, you. All right. Let's, You're making a sub sandwich after the story? Yeah, I'll take a 10,000 subs. There we go. Bird space. Fish people must be streaming right now because I don't have my regular crowd up in here. Anyways, we're gonna do a story, but I'm not gonna do it like this. Here after this story, I'm probably gonna make me a salami and Munster. Is that how you say it, Munster? Sandwich with mayo, but toast. So good. And ketchup, lots of ketchup, smothered in ketchup. Oh my God. Just kidding. Chappy makes sandwiches for content. Cooking with Chappy, but it's all creepy. I'm here, Chappy. The best of the fish fam chose you. That's right. Munster, oh my God, yay. I've never had it before last night. After my stream, my roommate came home with the groceries. You miss Munster cheese? Why? I hope I'm saying it right. I don't know. But anyways, let's do this story. This story has 6,056 upvotes. Oh, you missed cheese. That's right. You're not allowed to have cheese. Well, let's do the dang thing, shall we? Dang old dang, man. Oh, hell. Too bad you can't close this part of the page. It's fine. Here is the link one more time if anybody is interested, and I'll post it again at the end. I hooked up with a hot girl, but she has some weird rules she wants me to follow. My friend Alex loves partying. He organized a party at his parents' place for New Year's Eve and wanted me to make it the biggest one yet. Since his parents were out of town, he invited a bunch of friends and told them to invite their own friends, with the only condition being that they should bring some booze. His parents had a luxurious house, which has enough room for 2 entire football teams. So Alex wasn't overly concerned with the place being crowded. When I arrived around 10:30 p.m., a little barking's fine, not continuous. Jameson, you gotta go potty? Jameson, come on. Go potty? Yeah. Of course, everybody just walked into the foyer. When I arrived around 10:30 p.m., the music was already blaring 3 blocks away, and most of the people were pretty drunk. I joined in on the drinking and soon enough got tipsy. It was around this time that I noticed one girl at the party. And soon enough, nope, who seemed to be standing next to the wall on her own, holding a cup in her hand. She immediately caught my eye because she was otherworldly beautiful. She had long, blonde hair and blue eyes. The blue dress she wore prominently showed her sultry figure. It was all I could do not to stare. She seemed to catch my gaze, and she smiled. She took a sip from her cup. "Yo, Daryl, you having a good time?" Half-drunken Alex wrapped his arm around my shoulders, almost spilling his drink on me. I leaned in and shouted in his ear so that he could hear me over the loud music. "Yeah, man, listen here." "Nope." "Yeah, man, hey, listen. Who's that girl over there?" "What?" He raised his eyebrows and leaned in closer. I repeated my question, and once he glanced at the girl, he said, "I don't know her name, man, but Matt's been with her, and she's a beast in bed." "Huh?" I said, catching the girl's gaze one more time. I had just ended a 3-year-long relationship, so I wasn't really looking for anything serious. A one-night stand sounded like a perfect way to end the shitty year. That was 2019. Alex leaned in to shout something in my ear. "Hey, but even if..." Nope. He was messing with me. "Hey, but even though she fucks like a nymph, Matt said he'd never interacted with her again." "Why?" Alex shrugged. "No idea. He just said that inviting her home was the worst idea. Hey, Jamie." His attention went to another friend that passed by, and I was left alone with my own thoughts. As difficult as they were to be heard in such a loud place, Matt was pretty picky with women, so having other girl that isn't to his liking was no big news. I realized that the girl was still staring at me with a seductive smile, so I allowed the alcohol in my blood to give me the surge of courage I needed to approach her. We introduced each other and made some shallow small talk. She said her name was Melissa, and after a few brief exchanges, I asked her to dance. She said yes, spurring me to try to take things even further. As we danced, things started getting more heated between us, and at one point, Melissa wrapped her arms around my shoulders and leaned in as she said, Do you have a place? We can take this somewhere more private. She bit her lip as she said so and continued dancing gently. I got an apartment not too far away. We can use my car, I said, my boner practically talking instead of me. She nodded, and before anyone noticed, we were out of Alex's house. We barely managed to enter my apartment with our clothes still on, and as soon as I locked the door behind us, she stopped kissing me and said, Wait, before we do this, there are some things I need you to know about me." "What things?" I said, kissing her neck, not caring about talking right now. She gently pushed me away. Blushing and panting, and said, "Please, this is very important. Listen to what I have to say, and I promise I'll let you do anything you want to me later." She ran her hand across my inner thigh. I was so horny at the moment that I just wanted to jump on her, but I nodded and agreed to let her speak. She sat upright on the couch and exhaled before she said, "All right, so there's a couple of rules you need to follow, because otherwise you may put yourself in danger." Oh, great, I thought to myself. She has an STD or something. She continued. "First thing you need to know is now that we started this, we need to finish it to the end. If we don't, you'll have 8 years of bad luck. If you ask me to leave after we've had sex, something even worse may happen." I frowned in confusion, but before I could ask anything, she continued. "If you see my eyes are turning red during sex, close your own eyes, but don't stop. You're going to hear me making deep guttural noises, but they should be gone within a minute or so. Again, don't open your eyes during that time. I can't be responsible for what happens to you if you do. If you feel that you might lose your erection, try to focus on something to hold it, at least until the weird noises stop. If you feel my grip getting painfully firm on you, like claws, stop moving and I'll gradually let go. After we're done having sex, I will ask you some questions, like how was it for you? Have you had any better partners? How many girls you slept with, etc. I will need you to answer this truthfully as possible. I'll know if you lie. Once you are ready to go to bed, put a piece of any kind of raw meat out on the fridge on the counter and leave it there overnight. We'll be sleeping in the same bed, so if you touch me during the night and feel ice cold, ignore me. I may wake up and try to coax you into speaking with me by asking you a question or becoming hysterical. Whatever I do, just ignore me. I won't hurt you as long as you pretend I'm not there. You'll be fine. If you wake up and find me staring through the window, get out of the apartment as quickly as you can. Don't bother getting dressed, just get out. If you wake up and I'm not there, call out to me. You're going to hear one of the following things, either me saying that I'll be right back or calling you to come out. Ignore the latter. That's not me. And last, and the most important rule, Make sure to set your alarm and wake up at exactly 6:06 a.m. If you see me still in bed by then, covered with the blanket over my head, get out of the apartment as quietly as you can. I will be out of your apartment by 6:05 a.m. No exceptions. That's all. She exhaled, staring at me in anticipation. I stared back with mouth agape. I hadn't even realized how dumbfounded and breathless I was until she finished. So do you have any questions? She shrugged. No, I mean, everything is clear. Give me a moment, please. I need to use the bathroom. I fumbled to form a sentence and excused myself to the toilet. While there, I texted Matt. Hey, bro, do you know a girl named Melissa? His response came almost immediately. Yeah, why? I said. Well, I hooked up with her, but I heard you said there was something wrong with her. What's her problem? Did you invite her home? The message made me feel uneasy. I started to type, but his next message came through. Bro, please tell me you didn't invite her home. I did, I responded, my hands practically shaking by this point. Fuck, Matt replied. What is it? I asked. Now starting to feel the full-blown panic, he said. You have to go through with her rules now. Don't kick her out before she decides to leave on her own. She will be out of there by 6:05 a.m. Bro, what are you talking about? I'll just tell her I'm not feeling well and send her home. Don't do that. Listen to me. Don't fucking do it. He immediately responded. Why? I asked. He typed for a moment before saying, because my friend Kit did it, and they found him dead in his bed 2 days ago. Just then, 3 slow knocks resounded on my bathroom door. That was a pretty good one. So if y'all like that, go ahead and upvote it. I want to see like 9 upvotes if y'all liked it. Let me go make a sandwich real quick. I will join y'all in the chat. And yeah, be right back. And if anybody comes in, I'll see them. All right, Burb.
Yes.
Okay, I lied. I'm sorry. That sandwich came together way too fast. Oh, you guys got to look at this thing. It's the whole grain wheat, and I toasted it. I'll put a little bit of butter and like 6 pieces of this salami. Oh, it's so good. Oh. And I put the Munster on as soon as it came out of the toaster. Stop. Have a time. I'm a little mousy, small and cute. Here comes the cat to end my dispute. Ooh. Oh. This is a healthy sandwich. Hey, thank you to all my Patreons. I could make you one, but then I'd have to kill you. Oh, that sounds wrong. Thanks. How's everybody doing? There's a cross section, sort of. Munster salami, a little bit of butter, of mayo, and toasted whole grain. Look at that bread. It's just that texture. Dang it. It's got like oatmeal on it and stuff. I don't know. Dang hippie bread. Am I making everybody hungry? Lauren, I'm dead inside. It's fine. If you come to my house, I'll make you a sandwich. I think next time I make this sandwich, I'm going to put it in the air dryer with like extra Munster cheese and let it get all melty. Ooh, I'll put it on the top. Let it get all... Does Munster cheese get melty? It's a really soft cheese. I like that. Carrie feels the needs to kill things. That's, Yeah, I'm going to have to make a PB&J out of this bread, but I'll feel really bad about it, like I'm wasting it. But yeah, I've been eating way too many PB&Js. I need a regular lunch meat. And yes, it melts. And I don't do that Miracle Whip crap in this house. It's Hellman's only. Ooh. Hellman's only. I'm not putting salad dressing on a sandwich. Ew. Mushroom burgers in the air fryer. You mean mushrooms as the patties? My boss bought me lunch today. He brought me with my customers. So I technically had fancy ramen. I had pho. It was really good and spicy. Like, really good. They give you like raw meat. I had Kobe beef. Like Kobe. But you put it in the fire and let it heat up and cook. Because it's like boiling hot when you first get it. I have Hellman's. I'll be using it shortly. Bam. Wish I had patty melts. Steak and shake patty melt is a thing of beauty, if done correctly. This is a thick boy sandwich. Look at this thing. If not the bread. Rock G. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Have I seen you before? Nope. Looks like Rock G's birthday is November 14th. Happy late birthday, Rock G. I think. Wow. You had quite a few videos. And you got a lot of subs. Nice. It's been a while since I've been here. Well, awesome. Thank you for coming back. We're just doing creepy stories while I take a sandwich break. October. Oh, did I read that wrong? I apologize. A new person needs to get initiated. Timeout time. No, we're not timing people out if I can't. I can't really time out on this. No, I can't. So I have to click on where I go to chat. It says sign in the chat. Your messages will, and then YouTube, this action cannot be performed inside Streamlabs OBS to interact with chat. You have to open this chat in web browser, and then I have to go through and you've been going through a lot. I'm very sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully creepy stories will help you out. I'm eating a big boy sandwich right now. It's taking a lot out of me, but it's also putting a bunch in me. Just block. Just block what? Hey Derek, how you doing, Bubba? Welcome to the stream. This bread is freaking amazing, guys. I'm gonna have to take it on the kitchen one of these days and show her how I make a sandwich. Stories aren't over. just a short sandwich break, and it's almost over. You really got to chew this thing. This is not a mukbang. I apologize for portraying it as such. If I die and someone has to resuscitate me, they'll be like, "Oh wow, I'm hungry. That smells like a delicious sandwich." I keep stuttering, and it doesn't say I'm losing frames. I will stop recording now, though. YouTube's already recording. This is fun for Chappy, not stories. Aw. That was sweet of you, Derek. Thank you. So, while the rest of you are getting food, I will give you a story. I don't know what this was with my finger. Just pretty much does whatever it wants to, right? Oh, man. That is some dense bread. Sara Lee used to make a really dense, you put toast on it. Or you make a toast and you put butter on it. Oh, it's so good. So good. Where the freak are my creepy stories? There we go. Okay. So that story was I hooked up with a hot girl, but she had some weird rules she wants me to follow. It looks like some people did some upvoting. Chappy is long fingers. I don't really have long fingers. I mean, when I'm in that form, I guess I kind of do, but whatever, we're not going to talk about that. Your favorite ice cream is Moose Tracks. Why does that sound disgusting? I don't want to be rude. Oh, I am not reading that story. No, that is entirely too long. No series. You know, I'm going to get to the point where I only do series, or I'm only going to, oh, jeez. Link sorted by top. She sold happiness in glass jars. I loved that story. That was a wonderful one. Make sure I upvoted that one. Ah, my nose. Hey, Majora. Folks, that is Majora EXP. Majora hooked me up and helped me out with my computer when I needed it. And the Zen Ginger is a member. Aww. Oh, Jesus, all these... Look at a TID scroller. Oh, something broke Yandiri's heart. Oh, we get a Chappy face? You do, and it changes from month to month. Here's one. This story is called Something Went Wrong with My Heart Transplant. This is about a year ago, so we can't upvote this one. Your existence. Oh. Yandere, I'm sorry. Wait. Did someone else become a... Carrie Nature became a creeper. Thank you, Carrie. So now we have Stacey Morgan, the Zen Ginger, and Carrie Nature. They're all creepers. Y'all get to join private chats. Darn you. I'm so broke. I am sorry. But it's a pretty cool icon. Wait, what just happened? Oh, see, look at that. It didn't show it for anybody else. Oh, man. I don't know why I need to move that. Hang on, let me do that real quick. That is my alert box. That can move over here. This can move right back here. And the alert box can go right there. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I get tech support too. Tech support happens, live tech support happens on the next one, the next level up. It's so weird just seeing all the creepy smiles. Anyways, story. We're going to do the story. And an update to everybody, if y'all even care. I have dropped my ads. Not all of them. I dropped the unskippable ones and the mid-roll ones. So nobody should be getting ads mid-roll anymore. And you should be able to skip all the ads. Or you'll get the ones that are down here or over here. I'm working on Insane so I can join Chappy on the panel during the stories. That's awesome. Do it. Oh, Yandere's got... Oh, I've got to add that to my icons. Wonder if I can copy. I can't copy that. Wonder if I can. Let me see if I can save that. View image. Yep. That's gonna be one of the icons. I love it. Whatever. This isn't a standard web page, so you can't take a screenshot of it. Well, guess what? I know Control Print Screen. And there it is. Let me do this real quick, guys. I apologize. Control X, Control N, N, Control V. File, save as. Ogre. We'll see if YouTube lets me do that for my members. Anyways, let's do the story. Something went wrong with my heart transplant. This is submitted 1 year ago by Catrin Ciernan, Ciernan. I don't know. I'll just be stuck. It's fine. Well, I don't know if Lauren can hear me, but whatever. I hope she can. There's no such thing. No such thing as what? You want everybody to have a good night? All right. Let's do the dang story. Dang. Dang, Napoleon. Oh, yeah, that was when I searched gigantic files on my computer. I'm going to leave that open. Steam's open. Avast is open. I can close that. Leave that open. You know what? I'll research that again. How's that? Open this. Balance recommended. Okay. My computer should be running better again. Something went wrong with my heart transplant. I've always had a weak heart. Not just physically. I've always been afraid of my own shadow. It was unsurprising when the doctors told me my heart murmur wasn't just a heart murmur. A year of tests, a year of therapy, constant trips to the hospital, and I was finally told that it had been all for nothing. My poor weak heart wouldn't last till Christmas. It's a strange thing being told that you're dying. I didn't come to terms with it at first. I drank and I spent my money. I did reckless things, stupid things, because I was so damn scared. Then I got the news. A young woman called Laura had been declared brain dead, and that I, the lucky chosen one, would be getting a brand new heart a week later. I drove to the hospital slowly, carefully. I readied myself for the ordeal that was to come. As I was laying on the bed on the last night, I thought of Laura. The thought of Laura swirled around in my head, and it wouldn't leave me alone. It was like her name was in flashing lights every time I closed my eyes. It was wrong. I know it was. But I had to see the woman who was giving me her heart. It didn't feel right not to put a face to the one who was saving your life. I knew her name. I knew where she was staying, and I overheard two nurses discussing it. I wandered down the meandering hallway until I found what I was looking for, taking my time, making sure I didn't miss any name. I guess I had time on my hands now. The second to the last room, she lay in bed. A woman sat on the bed next to her, holding her hand, and my own weak heart stuttered. "Excuse me." I had no idea what to say to her. "I'm Jenna. I'm the person I'm having surgery tomorrow, and what I assumed was Laura's mother stood up, and I could tell from the look in her eyes she knew who I was. Thank you for visiting. I know it's strange, but a part of her is going to be living on in you, and I wanted to meet you. I stood there, helpless and lost for words. Laura's mother beckoned me over. Please, she said, don't feel uncomfortable. This is what she wanted. I sat on the chair next to Laura. How did she... I broke off. It was too awful to ask. Laura's mother gave me a thin smile. She was a care worker, looking after battered wives, abused women. Last month she met a guy. Well, I suppose your years of training can't help you when you're in love. She ignored the warning signs, and he killed her. She dedicated her life to those who needed her. Laura's mother looked down, and I don't know why I did it, but I reached over and held Laura's hand. I squeezed it. I'm so sorry. I had a boyfriend once who... He was like that too. Someone like Laura convinced me to leave. Laura's mother gave another half smile. I could see the tears in her eyes. Then Laura squeezed my hand tightly. She gripped me so hard that her fingernails dug into my skin. I recoiled, a look of horror on my face. Laura's mother looked at me calmly. She squeezes my hand sometimes as well. I think the doctors call it muscle spasms. Either way, there's none of Laura left in there anymore. I looked at the small crescent moons that had just started to bleed on the palm of my hand. The surgery went perfectly. I was wheeled to the recovery suite after it was over and done with. The raised wound on my chest covered by gauze. It was better if I didn't see it, I thought. I didn't need any more heart issues. I spent the first day doped up on pain medication, eating only a little and sitting up maybe 2 times. It was a long process. They reassured me. Laura's mother came to visit me the day before I was due to leave. Her calm demeanor hadn't wavered, but I could see she was suffering. She looked 10 years older, and her hands shook when she gave me a hug. Where are you going home? When are you going home? Tomorrow, I told her. Please come visit me whenever you want. I started to jot down my address for her. When out of the corner of my eye, a flash of blonde disappeared through a doorway. The same brilliant blonde as Laura's hair. Ow! I cried out suddenly. It felt like someone had sharply squeezed my hand so hard that it almost crushed my bones. Laura's mother rushed to my side, a look of concern in her eyes. What's wrong? Is it your heart? Come here. She stumbled over the last words, coming to terms with what she said. I tried to reassure her, and I'd let the doctors know, and she left with a look of worry on her face. When I looked down, a new set of crescent fingernail marks were below the ones that Laura had made. 10 identical, bleeding smiles. The taxi ride home was short, and before I knew it, I was back in my own flat. It felt strange to try and slot back into where I had left off. Down. Kennel. Misty, it's okay. My life had been almost over last time I had been here. I looked over the mess and the cardboard boxes, the remnants of one night where I tearfully tried to pack up and store my belongings so my parents wouldn't have to do it when I died. Laura's heart beat so strong it felt like it would come out of my chest. It didn't. It did this all the time, and I realized that what a healthy heart muscle felt like. So why couldn't I shake my feeling of unease? That night I had a dream. Laura was in her hospital bed. Her mother was gone. I could hear my heart, Laura's heart, beating in my eardrum so loudly it was painful. I tried to cover them, but my hands were pinned to my sides. Some unexplainable force was moving me towards the motionless figure of Laura on the bed. Her lips were blue, and the window had come open, whipping her blonde hair around her face. It was almost on top of her when her eyes flew open. They were milky white, the eyes of someone dead. "Get out," she rasped, her voice guttural. I could hear the heart beat faster and faster, drumming until I couldn't take it anymore. When I woke up, the sound had been real. Laura's heart was so loud it felt like it would rupture my eardrums, and I screamed in agony, trying to cover my ears. It was useless. It was coming from some deep place inside of me. I could feel it reverberating around the hollows of my chest. I stumbled out of bed, gasping for air, and tried to find my phone. I needed to call someone, anyone, an ambulance or my mom. Anyone that would pick me up. Get out. It was a faint whisper over the hammering thumps of Laura's heart. A low, guttural voice that sounded like it had been made by an animal. And I crawled to the door down the hallway, choking on my screams for help. My neighbor opened the door. His eyes were wide as saucers at the sight of me on the floor clutching my chest. He drove me to the hospital as I cried in the passenger seat of his car. About 50 different checkups. The doctors told me that absolutely nothing was wrong with me. They told me my heart was regular, my blood pressure was normal, and that everything was going just swimmingly. I stood in the waiting area, wallowing in my shame and frustration. That heart didn't belong to me. My phone buzzed on the counter, an unknown number. Great. That's all I needed, more unexplained, scary things like stranger on the end of the phone. My voice sounded small on the line. Hello? Good morning. This is Thames Valley Police. We called to report an incident that occurred in your flat around 1:30 a.m. today. I felt a wave of embarrassment. I'm so sorry. I recently had heart surgery and I wasn't feeling well. I had to have my neighbor drive me to the hospital, and I think I panicked a little in the hallway before I left. There was a small silence on the other end of the phone. I'm afraid this is something you might want to be sitting down for. I felt Laura's heartbeat strong and calm. There was an incident of forced entry by Mr. Samuel Matthews. According to our police records, he's your ex-partner, and you filed a restraining order against him in September 2017. My blood ran cold. I did. He's in police custody. We found an automatic weapon on him, and we believe that he had intended to harm you. We have an officer currently stationed at your flat who can fill you in depending on how long you're at the hospital stay will be. I thanked him and hung up the phone. For a moment, I leaned against the wall, the horror slowly spreading over me. If I had been in my flat 10 minutes later, he would have found me. Laura's heartbeats filled my ears again, but now they were gentle, calming. Her mother said she dedicated every part of her to helping those who needed it. I put both of my hands on my chest, overwhelmed by my own gratitude, and listened to Laura. What's going on in the chat? Hey, Demented Pictures. I don't think I've seen you before, or have I? Bam. 55,406. Jesus, you have a lot of subs. Oh. Look at your channel. Wow, you have some pretty awesome stuff. You love the story? What we found 1,000 meters below the sea, encore. If everybody wants an encore, I'll do an encore. I don't use it. Listen, I'll be lurking for a bit. La la la. I'm an organ donor too. She died of abuse, so sad. This one's personal, Chappy. Jeez. Aw. Oh, Lauren, has this happened to you? Psst, psst. Come here, baby doll. Misty dog. Come here. Come here, Misty. Come here. Oh, hey, baby. Oh, say hello to the stream. She's looking for sandwich right now. Oh, Lady Griffin, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, oh. Yeah, same stuff happened to me when I was a kid. Well, I mean, I'm not a, you know what I mean. Oh, baby doggy. Just sitting up here like a good girl. Alright, well. Yeah, I thought that was a good story. I'll do that story again, if y'all want. What's that? Look at the stream. Can y'all see the puppy? Y'all can see the puppy. She's a good baby. Misty dog. Misty dog's a pretty girl. Aww. Here, let's move this to the side. There we go. Now you can see my messy nightstand. Oh, Misty doggy. Okay, hang on. I gotta do this easy. It's okay, girl. One second. Aw. Hope you didn't hurt yourself like you did my computer. You nerd. Go lay down. Go to bed. It's okay, Misty dog. Go to bed. Or lay down. There you go. Good girl. Alright, so yeah, we'll do that story again. Dog hate hugs. No, she was enjoying it up here, but she's a dog. Oh yeah, there's a Coke Zero, there's some soju, there's some LED lights, there's some cans, there's a tripod, there's a phone charger, there's a badge, there's some headphones. There's all sorts of stuff up there I need to clean. No bad paraphernalia. I'm not a bad boy. Just alcohol. Sweet. Sweet alcohol. Looks like we lost some people. Let's see here. Demented Picture still here? I don't know. Might have left. Read one sad story and you scare everybody away from chat. It happens. All right, well, if y'all like that story, I'll try it again. Right there is the link. Oh. Oh. Oh, yeah. There's FishTuber streams tonight. I'm Chappy. I stream whenever I want. But if there's important FishTuber streaming, it's okay. So here's the story. This might be my last one. It's about my bedtime. Oh yeah, Blackie streaming. His streams are usually really good. About 3 years ago, I was on a science... Let me try this again. What we found 1,000 meters below the sea makes me not want to live anymore. About 3 years ago, I was a science reporter on board the North Atlantic Research Vessel, Baseline Explorer. We were roughly 20 kilometers off the coast of Bermuda at the time, and I was getting set to go down in a two-man submersible, something I'd wanted to do since I was a kid. The pilot of the sub was a deep-sea veteran called Percy. Great guy, great sense of humor. Spoke with a thick Texan drawl that made even dumb things sound folksy and wise. First words he said to me were, "You ever been down in one of these things?" Never. I was grinning, excited as a schoolboy. I was practically shaking. "You'll never forget it," he assured me. In hindsight, that was some genius level foreshadowing, if I ever heard it. These submersibles weighed about 8 tons, rigged with state-of-the-art scientific equipment. Massive search beams mounted just forward of the acrylic bubble. They're ultra-maneuverable, even at extreme depths. You could spin them 360 degrees on a dime. And they have this massive hydraulic arm that the pilot controls with a joystick. I saw Percy move that arm so skillfully, I swear to God, he could have plucked the pacifier out of a baby's mouth without even waking it. When he wasn't piloting the sub, Percy liked to play computer games back in the ship's rec room. I've played untold levels of Call of Duty with him. And take it from this old school gamer like me, this guy is crazy good. What's even crazier? He's 58 years old with 6 grandchildren. Percy was a great guy. But after that voyage, my first, his 100th and 3rd, he was never the same again. None of us were ever the same again. The submersibles are miracles of engineering. They can withstand up to 25 Earth atmospheres, which basically means 25 times the pressure at surface level, the equivalent of an ant moving around with 12 jumbo jets parked right on top of it. I'll never forget the sensation the first time I slipped through the bubble's hatch. I was scared. I knew what to expect, but I didn't expect the bubble to be so small. It felt claustrophobic. Like climbing down into a tumble dryer, but it actually wasn't so bad once I was seated. We had a panoramic view of the world through the wraparound glass better than IMAX. But as the ship's crane lowered us into the water, I couldn't help wondering whether this was the first time I'd ever see the sunlight. Nope. But the ship's crane lowered us into the water. I couldn't help wondering whether this was the last time I'd ever see the sunlight. I was nervous about the journey ahead. My publishers wanted a video essay of the deep sea dive in one of the subs, which made sense seeing as my job was to report all of the functions of a scientific research vessel. But we were going close to the sub's limits, almost 1,000 meters, and suddenly the whole thing was very daunting. Percy quickly put me at ease. He had been down over 100 times, and in his opinion, it was safer than driving to the neighborhood liquor store. As the sub descended into the depths, it felt like we were motionless for long periods of time, like we were just hanging there in eternity of blue-tinted space. But Percy assured me we were still descending, still going down. The water became bluer, darker, and deeper we went. There was a second submersible trailing us like a ghost. The pilot was an Israeli guy called Avi. He was a stoic son of a bitch. I'd been on board the Baseline Explorer 3 weeks, and I'd never seen him crack so much as a smile. He was nicknamed the Machine. The name fit him like a glove. He flashed his searchlights at us at the beginning of the trip when we were hovering close to the surface, and sometimes Percy would talk to him over the radio as we made our way down, but it was all professional chit-chat. The Machine wasn't the kind of person who inspired small talk. As a co-pilot of the sub, it was pretty much my job to keep the glass clear of condensation. So every few minutes, I'd give the inside of the acrylic bubble a wipe over. The rest of the time I was filming and commenting on whatever I was seeing around me. Around 2,000 meters down, we started moving to the apelagic zone, the sunlight zone, to the twilight zone, or mesopelagic zone. And now the ocean turned this deep aquamarine, like the sky just before dawn. We see a moray eel slithering through the cone of our searchlights, a school of grouper fish filtering around us like silver confetti. The Machine calls our attention to a couple of small tiger sharks that follow us for a while and peel off into the darkness. We were almost 1,000 meters underwater, and it's pitch black. We were in the midnight zone. Not a single proton of light is able to get down this far. The only source of illumination is our searchlights. We were just fixing to start heading up when suddenly Percy kills all momentum. What's wrong? Percy looked stone-faced. His skin had drained of all color, and his lips were trembling, like he was muttering something under his breath. And he had this fixed expression on his face, this intensity to his gaze that warned me something was off. Percy? Percy reached out and snapped the searchlights off. "There's something out there," he whispered. I don't know how to describe the impact of those words had on me. You can report the things a man says, but it's hard to convey the way he says them. And the way Percy said, "There's something out there," sent an instant chill down my spine. He sounded scared. Only the second of our breathing now, only the sound of our breathing now, as we both stared into the pitch blackness. There was something out there. I couldn't see it, but I could sense it. Something was watching us, and I never felt anything like that before. I was an atheist at the time, but afterwards, I would describe it as a religious experience. I have no idea what I meant by that. I was in shock at the time, and I don't know what the fuck I was saying. What is it? I barely recognized the sound of my own voice. It sounded thin and childlike. Like suddenly, in a heartbeat, I had regressed to infancy. I gripped Percy's arm. "What's out there?" I turned to him. He looked like death. He looked more scared than I'd ever seen a man. Computer lights patterning his features. Shadows scavenged his flesh, his eyes yellow and glazed with terror. What the hell would scare a man like Percy? He was hard as nails, an adrenaline junkie by all accounts. But right then he looked like he was walking the Green Mile. I turned back and stared out the bubble of the Atlantis. Darkness so deep, it seemed to swallow my thoughts. What was out there? Why was I shaking with this incomprehensible dread? It felt like a premonition of doom. The searchlights from the second sub carved past us. The machine oblivious to what we could so clearly sense. He was maneuvering his sub sideways, trying to figure out why we had come to full stop. "Turn the lights off," Percy whispered in a voice tight with panic. And suddenly he jerked forward and flicked the radio toggle. "Avi, turn your fucking lights off," he hissed. But it was too late. The searchlights illuminated something in the darkness below us that to my dying day I wish I had never seen. What I saw next. It's haunted my dreams ever since. I've burned through 3 marriages, an army of therapists, and attempted suicide 3 times. I'm an addict to opioids and booze, and I still can't get the image out of my head. At first thought, I was looking down at some kind of luminous disk of immense size. I'd guess 3 times the diameter of the sub. So I'd say about 25 feet across. And it was a silvery texture, soft and slightly faceted. There were bands of color radiating outwards from the circle of absolute black that sat right in the center of the disk. I can't describe that black. It was darker than the absence of light. It was the fucking absence of hope. Before he put a bullet in his head 3 years ago, Percy called me up. It was like looking into nothing, he told me. Absolute zero. And it tore my fucking mind apart. He was sobbing as he spoke. He was in a bad way. His wife had just left him. His kids had disowned him. He had lost his home, his job, his dignity. And finally, he lost the reason to go on living. Nietzsche once said, "When you look into the abyss also looks into you." That's what it felt like staring into the black circle, like it was staring back at me. I saw it for maybe a second before the machine snapped its searchlights off, but there was an eternity in that second. There was a sensation of falling into the abyss, being swallowed by darkness, of slowly losing my mind. It was an eye. That disc with a black circle in the middle had been a fucking eye that measured 20 feet across. To this day, my skin grows cold when I remember it, this colossal eye staring up at us in the dark. And the immensity of that gaze was beyond human comprehension. It was an intelligence measured in eons. It was an evil behind Scripture, beyond Scripture, beyond reason, and it laid its immortal gaze upon us, and we were blighted by it, scarred by it, destroyed by it. God help us. And that's when the machine snapped his searchlights off, and the darkness took away that awful vision, but not the memory of it. I felt despair unlike anything I'd ever experienced. A black terror filled my heart. That eye. Jesus Christ in heaven, how big was the monster that possessed that eye? It felt biblical. I didn't have to look at Percy to know he was feeling the same thing. That eye did not belong to a thing of reason or nature. It was not a thing of science. It was a monster. It was the mother of every nightmare our children wake screaming from. And even as I thought this, Percy whispered, "Curse that day, those who are ready to rouse Leviathan." And my ears, he sounded like a dead man quoting scripture. I gazed into the darkness ahead. I knew that eye was still staring at us even though I could no longer see it. I felt the crushing weight of its gaze. I was drunk with the horror of it, making sounds at the back of my throat, attempts to speak, but no words came out. I was trapped. I wanted to run and hide, but sitting in a tiny submersible 1,000 meters below the sea level, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The radio crackled. The machine was saying something, but I wasn't listening. I was staring into the god-awful darkness. Something was moving out there. I could sense it, like a mountain turning its ancient face towards us. I could feel that dreadful gravity of the monster as it turned. The most horrific images flashed through my head. Mass graves filled with bodies not quite dead. A wolf chewing through the leg, caught in a hunter's trap. Emaciated children standing behind a chain-link fence. Refugees caught on barbed wire borders, screaming for help. I was tearing at my hair and beating at my skull, but the images only grew more horrific. My brain felt like one huge, pulsating blood clot. I heard Percy howl in pain and terror. I heard my own screams from a million miles away. And then, abruptly, the images were gone. I sucked in a sobbing breath, and turning to Percy, I yelled, "Get us out of here!" He shook his head. "Look," he said. Something appeared in the darkness ahead. It was some kind of fissure opening up in the inky void, a fiery glow spilling out from the illuminated surrounding ocean. And as I watched, the fissure grew wider and wider until it gaped almost 100 feet wide, maybe more. And that fiery, larval glow filled my entire forward vision. It was the color of napalm and post-nuclear sunsets. And staring into that yawning chasm, I swear to God, I saw hell incarnate, filled with multitudes of tortured souls. My therapists all said it was hallucinations, but Percy and the machine both saw the same thing. The fissure opened into a cavern of impossible dimension, so vast it contained the entire mountain ranges and fiery lakes, and rivers of boiling blood and molten rain, burning as it fell from thick sulfur yellow clouds. And I saw naked multitudes, thousands upon thousands of screaming souls, being snatched up by enormous winged beasts and cast into lakes of fire. The winged beasts were horrific looking, some kind of hybrid. They carried pitchforks and branding irons. Some of them had heads of birds and bodies of men, and others reptilian monstrosities, but all of them, I sensed, were filled with a black hatred for humanity. Percy was screaming the Lord's Prayer. I remember my mouth stretched wide, gaping in horror, tears streaming down my face. And then that awful fissure slowly closed. And I think it was at that moment I realized I'd been staring into the mouth of that creature. I don't remember how we got back to the surface. I remember they had to handcuff me to a cot in the infirmary once we were back aboard the ship. I was screaming and I couldn't stop. They made me wear diapers. I couldn't even control my bowels. I was in the infirmary for 3 days, screaming and shitting myself into a stupor. The machine hung himself a week after returning home. His wife found him. He left a note, a single word in Hebrew: Leviathan. I'm trying to put it behind me. It's been 6 years. I'm the only one left. The days are getting better, but I dread the coming of night, sinking down into sleep the way we sank down into that abyss, terrified of what awaits me in my dreams. I've never been back to the ocean. God bless us all. It's like Event Horizon. Here's the story. That's the second time I've read it. In 2 days. If y'all want to upvote that. So that will be my last story. I has to get some sleeves. Yeah, so Moonstone KK, how are you doing? Kevin, oh, sorry, buddy. I didn't see you there. Go to bed. I'm going to go to bed. I'm creating a new member role now just for live streams. Oh, no, I should make one for tech support. I don't know how many will let me make. Nah. I'll think about this one. I'll add a new level later. Hey, Kevin, did you ever get members on your channel? He probably did. Guy's got a lot of subscribers. Oh, you gotta get members, Kevin. You should check that out under your monetization tab. Set it up. You see Carrie Nature's icon? She gets the cool icon that's right there. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. And, yeah, so. Too many games. Yeah, that was a good time. You really want that Japanese ogre as an icon? I'll have to do that. Showing off smile. Cool, I will check it out. Yeah. So I'm monetized now and have members and Patreon, which I want to say a thank you to my Patreons one more time. Julia writes on walls, Chattanooga Ed, candy overhauls, Tenra, Cianta, and dark fruit. I will be setting up the same perks for y'all as YouTube. The photos already have it in emojis. Awesome. We should make our own too many games this year in like Vegas. Why not Texas? Texas is a pretty central place. Chappy, thank you for an awesome stream. Wish it was longer. 3 hours is pretty good. I'm sorry. So yeah. Yeah, anyways, so you guys rock. And hashtag Vegas trip. That is not hashtag, but whatever. Anyways. There's the music. So thank you all once again for joining the stream. Chappy's 24-hour stream coming soon, maybe this weekend. I like that idea. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me pause the music real quick. I will do a 24-hour stream this weekend because it is a 3-day weekend. So I'll start it on Friday and end it Saturday. Vegas, cheap flights. I'm broke. Kids are expensive. All right, later. Well, Kevin, I'll call you, and we'll have to talk about that. Yeah, so 24-hour stream this weekend. I like that idea. So do your best to get everybody here. We'll even do the giveaway for the C922X Pro Stream webcam. So that'll be this weekend. Yeah, we'll have to do all sorts of things. Play games, do stories. I'll have to bring people up. I really should have thought this out better. And I don't really have enough people in my streams to let everybody know. So, check it out. I got a phone holder / Wait, it doesn't move? It doesn't like moving as much when it's grasped. I'll get the word out. Yes, so look forward to that this weekend. And if for some reason we can't do it this weekend, it'll be next weekend. Because I'm not really giving a whole lot of time to do that. I'm too toxic for streams. No, you're not. You're the perfect toxicity for my streams. Yandira, you'll have to come drive to my house so you can be a part of my stream. That would be awesome, but I know you won't do it. Whatever. It's fine. Yeah, so thank you all for coming. I hope you all have a creepy night and sleep wonderfully. I'll get the ritual folk. Be prepared for tons of random folks. I hope so. We need tons of folks in here. I need like a 1,000 more subscribers, all sorts of stuff. I'm known to make people depressed. Well, that's fine. So, yes, plan on. I'll even make a Discord room for that right now while I'm thinking about it. I was depressed when you blocked Horn Dog. Aww. At everyone. This is the room for the 24-hour stream this weekend. Please post ideas for the stream. Yeah. Obviously, at everyone doesn't, that's, there's my one monitor, and then there's this monitor. It's weird. But all right, I'm gonna go to sleep, and you folks. No, Horn Dog's still here. Just Yandere blocked him. That's fine. You folks have a good night. Thank you all for coming. And thank you to my new members, Carrie, Zen Ginger, and Stacy. Breaking you guys rock. That is one loud keyboard. Wait, where's it at? I love this keyboard. All right, guys, be good. And we'll stream tomorrow. Bye. Ha ha.